So, Assalamu alaikum everyone. What is the AGU today? Aims, goals, and objective. Today, again, as usual, what will we do? First, very brief revision, whatever we have done yesterday. Then, today's topic landmark in the history of chemistry means the period, the era of chemistry can be divided in sub eras. We will discuss some important eras. So what have we done yesterday? We covered branches of chemistry, right? You know, according to our book, there are 9 branches: organic, study of carbon, hydrocarbons and its derivatives. Inorganic compounds, study of all the compounds except organic compounds. Physical chemistry, it monitors, it governs the changes, means there are certain laws, certain principles which should be followed by every chemical reaction to proceed. Then analytical chemistry, it deals with the methods and the techniques used, means it's just a very important tool for chemistry. Because it tells you the techniques, it tells you the ways, it tells you the different methods, right, to prepare any product. Then biochemistry, a study of life. Number of processes are going on in living organisms, either it is a plant or an animal. Number of processes, we have discussed it yesterday in detail, right? Then industrial chemistry. Industrial chemistry deals with all the applications, all kind of applications to produce product on large scale, right? Like you want to set a cement factory, or a shampoo factory, or a soap factory, or a paint factory, you need some information. That information is provided by an industrial chemist. Then nuclear chemistry, study of all the changes occurring in the nucleus of an atom. Environmental chemistry is related with pollution, the effect of chemicals on living organisms. And finally, the polymeric chemistry, small units called monomers combine to form a bigger unit called polymer. The product is polystyrene, thermopol, polyester, polyvinyl acetate, polyvinyl chloride. Number of products are there. Okay? This is revision. I'm not explaining it. So those of you who couldn't join yesterday, it will be difficult for them to understand it. So for them, just go through the YouTube. There you can find all the lectures. Okay? Okay, so today's topic is history of chemistry. Comparatively a drier topic, except for those who are interested in such points, historical background, etc. Anyway. So the first question is, when does chemistry begin? Long time ago. It's just a theory. Scientists thought that the chemistry was first began when a human being came to know how to lit the fire, because they think fire is the basic need to proceed a chemical reaction, right? So this was about 750,000 years ago. Since then, chemistry was used in a number of arts and crafts, directly or indirectly, like making pots, clay pots, or making weapons, or any other thing like this. Okay? as you can see on the screen, pottery making, glass making, dyeing, all of these are the processes which were invented by human being long time ago. Right? See, what is next? Metallurgy. What is metallurgy? Minerals. You all of you know that what we mean by the word minerals. Minerals, something which is you can find, you can dig out from the earth, is called a mineral. Okay? So when you dig out something, if it contains a suitable quantity, a reasonable quantity of metal, and you want to separate, you want to extract metal from that mineral, this process is called metallurgy. So in Balochistan, we have an area called Fendak. There you can find number of important minerals, metals like gold, like copper, like uranium, etc., etc. So gold is extracted from minerals, copper is extracted from minerals. This is called metallurgy. So according to our book, remember we are following strictly our syllabus. We are limited within the boundary of the syllabus. Okay? So there are three different eras, important eras, which you can see on the screen. The Greek period, the Muslim period, and the modern period. So we will try to cover these periods, these eras, one after the other. Look, Greek, it's long time ago, around Greek period was a period of around 2500 to 3500 years ago. They were not considered as scientists, rather they are called philosophers, Greek philosophers. Why? Because they did not believe in experiments, practicals. They rather believed in philosophy, telling a thing in a logical way. Means they can they can prove, like they're going a class, our Greek philosopher is there and he can prove that there is raining outside, but he did not bother to go out and see either it is raining or not. Okay? Means only logic, no experimentation, no confirmation. That is why they are called armed chair philosophers. Okay? So why are they called armchair philosophers? Because they did not believe in practicals, experimentations, etc., etc. They give theories. So some of the Greek philosophers, number one is Socrates. He is considered the most prominent Greek philosopher. Remember, you are not going to write in your notes the contributions of these Greek philosophers, is just for info. So he was the first one who created the first school of philosophy in West, especially. Then the next is Plato. Who was Plato? He was the founder of a Platonist school of thought. It was the first institution of higher learning in the Western world around 2500 years back. Then another one is the Aristotle. Might be you have heard his name. Aristotle, again, he was a very Greek, very prominent Greek philosopher. Polymath means a very learned person who knows different skills, different areas of knowledge, etc. And he was the student of Plato. Aristotle was the student of Plato. And who will tell me, not now, afterward you can mail me, that why was Aristotle famous for? How did he sacrifice his life? Okay? And he was the first one, he was the founder of Lyceum. What is Lyceum? That is a school, Cambridge school in Karachi, but that is, I'm not talking about that Lyceum, but it is the first Athenian school, long time ago, around 335 BC. So what are we doing? We are trying to cover few prominent Greek philosophers. Why are they called philosophers? Because they did not believe in practicals, like Socrates, like Plato, like Aristotle. And what else is Pythagoras, grade 8, maths, Pythagoras theorem. Remember? Hypotenuse square is equal to perpendicular square plus base square. I think most of you remember. You have used this theorem in different, in solving different math problem, or might be somewhere in science also. C square is equal to A square plus B square. This was given by Mr. Pythagoras. That is why it is called Pythagoras theorem. This is one of the most important theorem in math. So that is why I just wrote here his only one contribution, which is very important, Pythagoras theorem. Right? Besides this, so many other Greek philosophers were there, like Democritus. Democritus, he was the first one who proposed the theory for the structure of atom. According to Mr. Democritus, that matter is composed of tiny indivisible particles. He called those particles atomos, not atoms, atomos. Okay? So what are we going to remember from all this discussion? Number one, the various names of Greek philosophers. Very short, half line, their contributions. That's it. Okay? What is written at the right top of this slide? Important. Means if it is asked to write a note on Greek period, then you should cover these points. Okay? Like Greek philosophers are the armed chair philosophers. And what else? They were the first one, especially the Democritus, who gave the concept of elements. Atoms means atomos, and the chemical reactions. Right? And what else they have contributed in chemistry, beside other areas? They thought that each and everything is made up of just 4 elements, 4 important things. Either it is me, plant, you, and everything. They considered that all of the things, all the matter is just the combination of four important parts, four important elements. It's not necessary that all the four elements are present in all the compounds, but could be two or three or one of all four. For example, let's see the first. What are the four? Water, earth, air, and fire. Like plants, they say it is composed of water and fire, because when they burn it, it gives fire. So they thought that air was hot and wet. You can see the famous square here, the properties of these elements. Water is cold and wet, and so on. Earth is dry and cold, and so on. So, according to them, each and everything is made up of, is the combination of these four elements. Later on, it was proved wrong. Then, beside Greek period, a little paragraph is there in our book also, showing the contributions of Roman periods in chemistry. What they did, they improved the process of metallurgy. What is metallurgy? Just told you, process of obtaining a metal like copper, iron from its mineral ore. Right? They also introduced enameling of pottery, means you can see fancy work on different pots. That is given by that was improved by the Romans, and it was also written that they use different chemical weapons. Okay, so this is all about Roman period. What? They improved metallurgical processes, they improved enameling of pottery, and they used chemical weapons. Now here comes the Muslim period, which has been ended long time ago. The golden period of Muslim. It was right after the Hijrah to 1600 AD. But I think that it was well ended before 1600 AD. Okay? So it is our golden area. Scientists of this era, they are called alchemists. They did remarkable inventions, discoveries during these 1,000 years. Why? It's just because of two reasons. First, it is mentioned in Holy Quran, Iqra. That is why Muslims searched, researched. Secondly, they became lunatic in converting a normal metal, a base metal, into gold. Means they want to prepare gold in labs. There wasn't any concept of lab at that time. The working area. Okay, so they wanted to convert base metals, some normal metals, into gold, and in doing so, they discovered, improved, gave number of things to humankind, to chemistry. Then what else? It was our golden period, but in that area, the West was in complete dark. That is why it is called Dark Ages. Right? They introduced different chemical techniques like distillation, like weighing instruments, etc., etc. Okay? What is distillation? This is rose water is the product of distillation. Just put the rose leaves, petals into a big flask, covered flask with water, boil it, collect the vapors. This process is simply called distillation. And varying different weighing instruments. They introduced basic lab techniques like lab equipments, as you can see the picture there, like funnels, like beakers, like retort distillation, like crucible, etc. Number of things they have made just to show the chemical world. This is our latest funnel, latest beaker that we are using in our labs. This is called crucible, a very small little crucible dish with cover. It is used to heat. It can be kept in microwave ovens, can be or in a furnace. This is called distillation, retort distillation. I just told you that rose water and things means any extract. For example, if you put tomatoes in it, it will get you will get what the extract of tomato or any other thing. So they also introduced, Muslims also introduced different kinds of acids, as we will see afterwards, like sulfuric acid, like nitric acid. It's not nitric acid, it's nitric acid. Alcohol, etc. Simply science traveled from alchemist to chemistry during this era. Not only in the field of chemistry, but in the field of physics, in the field of maths, botany, zoology, astronomy, in all major areas of science, Muslims contributed a lot. Okay? Now, if the question comes, write a short note on Muslim period, then you will include these points. What? That we have just covered. You will write generally. Now, what are the prominent Muslim scientists? Jabir bin Hayyan. West called this great chemist as Jabir. When you see Jabir written in their books, it means Jabir ibn Hayyan. Then Al-Razi, then Ibn Sina, or Al-Biruni. These are the most prominent chemists of the Muslim world. They contributed a lot in the field of chemistry and also in other fields. So, time is going to be over. What are you going to do if you have curiosity? No written assignment, but go through the book or from net or from any other book beside your syllabus book, the contributions of Muslim scientists. If you have interest, just have a click on it. Okay? You will see ocean of information regarding the golden age of Muslim era. Assignments. I have given 2 assignments and I got many. I am keeping a record of it. We'll share it, the record on Friday. Means still you have time. If you have not submitted your assignment and you didn't have time, then you can still submit it today or tomorrow. On Friday, I will show you the list of all those students who have submitted the assignment. Again, the video would be available of today's lecture. Right now, you can switch on your mic for any question.